Hey everyone, and welcome back. So doing a news update today because we have the January announcements from Arrow, which I want to definitely cover because there's one in there well, actually technically two, but specifically one especially that I am so excited for and I've been waiting for years. And I do want to mention real quick, I think it might have been even in my last video, I can't remember, but if I glisten a little bit more, I know with my hair, it looks like it's kind of slicked back. I'm just sweating a lot because we're getting a bit of one final heat wave here. It's actually in the sort of upper 80s today. And on top of that, my AC unit is not really working too well. I have someone coming in next week to look at it, but until then, yeah, I'm kind of sweating pretty good here. So bear with me through all the sweatiness. Now, let's get to the announcement. So before I get to the Arrow stuff, I do want to mention actually one thing real quick, which is kind of good news, bad news, so to speak. So first up, there's some announcements from Sandpiper releasing, I think is that their name? Sandpiper Pictures. They're releasing a couple of upcoming Blu-rays now. I think most of these are just re-releases of out-of-print Blu-rays, both good and bad. So the thing about Sandpiper releasing, or Pictures, sorry, is the fact that they're kind of like... what were some of those other ones, like Olive or Mill Creek or a couple of those other companies where they rarely do new stuff for their releases as far as like transfers go or extras or anything. They in fact, most of the time they're bare bones as far as extras go, and they usually just use pre-existing masters for their releases. And I think this is kind of the same thing here. So I do want to kind of mention this. I don't think there's any extras as far as I can tell with any of these. But again, some of these were actually Shout Factory / Scream Factory releases from a couple years ago that are now available again if you missed out on them. And these are all set for December. So a couple of these, let's see. December 5th is going to be the movie Thunder Road. Then Blackula, Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo, and High Spirits. And then on December 19th, we're getting The Sure Thing. And then finally, Invaders from Mars, the Tobe Hooper one. That's the one that actually kind of bums me out the most because honestly, I really thought someone was actually going to get a hold of that one and do a 4K release. Like, I was almost so sure about it, I actually probably even would have put money on it. That's how much I thought that was actually going to happen. Now, from who? I don't know whether or not it was going to be like a 4K from Scream Factory or maybe Arrow, or even Vinegar Syndrome, since obviously they now have deals with MGM and stuff. So kind of bummer there on that one, which means it's not that we won't get one eventually, but it's obviously not going to be anytime soon as far as this license is in effect, I would assume. So on the good side, if you missed out on any of these before, obviously this is an easy way to grab them. Obviously, it doesn't look like they're going to have any special features on them. But if you at least wanted the movie on Blu-ray, be able to get it. But I am going to pretty much assume it's going to be the exact same masters that we saw on the older releases for a lot of these, which unfortunately for some of them may go back as 10 years or more, possibly. So kind of a bummer there. But again, I'm still going to hope that maybe, eventually we'll get a nice 4K release of all these at some point. But I mean, specifically just for my own sake, I'd love a 4K release of the Tobe Hooper Invaders from Mars. I am not used to seeing my hair so slick. This is kind of throwing me off. I better not look at myself. Anyway, sorry, I'm sweating so much. So that's the end of those. So let's move on to the Arrow announcements for January. So there's it's kind of interesting thing because it's like, so we have one UK only title, and then we have the rest are actually US and Canada only titles. So kind of a reverse that we've been seeing from the last few months. So we have 4 titles total, although one of them has multiple releases. So first up, so there's one Blu-ray release, and then there's the rest are 4K. So let's do the Blu-ray release, which is a US and Canada only Blu-ray. Retailing for $39.95. It's a Blu-ray of the movies Murphy's War, starring Peter O'Toole and directed by Peter Yates. And so this is, let's see, so it's, again, Blu-ray release, assume it's Region A. Yeah, Region A. No specifics on the transfer itself, but it does have the original mono soundtrack, as well as English subtitles. Running Out of War, a new visual essay by film critic David Cairns. A Great Adventure, an archive interview with assistant director John Glenn. Is that the same John Glenn who did some of the James Bond films? I wonder. Dougie, Chic, and Me, an archive interview with focus puller Robin Vigean. One Man Army, an archive interview with film critic Sheldon Hall. plus a theatrical trailer and an image gallery, and that is set for January 30th. And now we move on to the 4K releases. Now the first 4K is going to be UK only, set for January 22nd, retailing for £34.99, is a 4K release of Carrie, the Brian De Palma film, finally getting a release in 4K in the UK. Obviously, we've had it here in the States, I think for about a year or so. I can't remember, but we got it, obviously, a 4K release from Screen Factory here last year. I believe this might be using the exact same 4K transfer, because under the details, it just says 4K restoration from the original camera negative. So it doesn't say, like, by Arrow or anything like that. So I'm going to assume that probably the Screen Factory 4K release and this one are going to have the same 4K transfer on it. We'll be in Dolby Vision, have the original mono soundtrack as well as a 5.1 surround track, and a slew of extras here, including a commentary by Lee Gambin and Alexandra Heller-Nicholas, acting Carrie, an archive featurette containing interviews with director Brian De Palma, actors Sissy Spacek, Piper Laurie, Amy Irving, William Catt, and others, the late Piper Laurie, sadly to hear that she passed recently. More acting Carrie, additional interviews with the cast of the film. Visualizing Carrie, From Words to Images, archive featurette containing interviews with De Palma, writer Lawrence C. Cohen, editor Paul Hirsch, and art director Jack Fisk. Singing Carrie, Carrie the Musical, archive featurette on the stage musical adaptation of King's novel. Writing Carrie, an interview with writer Lawrence C. Cohen. Shooting Carrie, an interview with cinematographer Mario Tosi. Cutting Carrie, an interview with editor Paul Hirsch. Casting Carrie, an interview with casting director Harriet B. Hellberg. Bucket of Blood, an interview with composer Pino Donaggio. Horror's Hollow Grounds, a look back at the locations of Carrie. Comparing Carrie, a visual essay comparing the various versions of adaptations of Carrie across the years. An alternate TV opening. An image gallery, trailer, TV spots, radio spots, and a Carrie trailer reel. And this initially will be a limited edition, so it will be in one of their sort of deluxe packages, which will come obviously with a fold-out poster, as well as a 40-page book with a bunch of write-ups on it, as well as 6 double-sided collector's postcards. So really, really nice special edition of Carrie. So for those of you in the UK who have not picked it up, obviously this is a great way to do it. And if it is indeed the same 4K transfer that is on the Screen Factory release, I mean, I thought that was actually a really good transfer. I saw some people kind of had a couple minor complaints, but actually, for me, when I watched it, I was actually really impressed by it. So glad that all of us will be able to have Carrie in 4K. And the next 2 titles are the ones I am super, super excited about. And there's actually going to be, there's like 6 different versions to choose from depending on what format you want, and also, well, let's just dive right into it. So the first one is a new 4K and Blu-ray. There will be a 4K release and a Blu-ray release of Conan the Barbarian, which I have wanted in 4K literally for years. I was hoping somebody was going to do it, and I'm actually really happy it's Arrow. So, and there's a ton here. I mean, this is obviously initially it's getting one of their limited edition sets. Retails for $59.95, up for pre-order right now from Arrow for $45, set for January 16th. And this thing, let's just dive right. So it's got a brand new 4K restoration from the original negative by Arrow. It'll be in Dolby Vision, and it'll have 3 cuts of the film. So it's going to have original theatrical cut, which clocks in at 127 minutes, the international cut at 129 minutes, and the extended cut clocks in at 130 minutes. I actually forgot that there were 3 different cuts of the film, so this is actually really exciting. I think the international cut, I think, is the one that's mainly been the most available, I think, on video for the most part. So it's kind of cool that we're getting all 3 cuts of the film. A newly restored original mono audio, as well as a remixed Dolby Atmos track on all 3 cuts. And that's exciting for a couple of reasons. Well, I'm hoping it'll be because the score by Basil Polidorus for the film is one I love so much. And one of the things that has always bummed me out about always watching the film on video and different formats over the years is the fact that, especially in the very beginning when the theme like fully kicks in with the title, it never had that punch that I always wanted. It always sounded very, like it needed just that extra push, and it never had that, because when you listen to it on the soundtrack, it kind of feels like it's got that sort of impact. So as much as I don't like it when they sort of fiddle with original sound design when they do a remix, I'm kind of hoping maybe this time the music will just be cranked just a little bit, at least during the opening credits. Anyway, moving on with the extras. So we got an archive feature commentary by director John Milius and star Arnold Schwarzenegger on the extended cut only, a brand new feature commentary by genre historian Paul M. Salmon Salmon, author of Conan The Phenomenon, on the extended cut only. A newly assembled isolated score track in lossless stereo on the extended cut only. So it seems like these commentaries are obviously only on the extended cut. And then disc 2, which is a Blu-ray, by the way, which has the rest of the extras, including Conan Unchained, The Making of Conan, an archive documentary from 2000 featuring interviews with Schwarzenegger, Milius, Stone, Jones, Lopez, Bergman, Polidorus, and several others. Designing Conan, a newly filmed interview with production artist William Stout. Costuming Conan, a newly filmed interview with costume designer John Bloomfield. Barbaric Effects, a newly filmed interview with special effects crew members Colin Arthur and Ron Hone. Young Conan, a newly filmed interview with actor George Sants. Conan and the Priest, a newly filmed interview with actor Jack Taylor. Cutting the Barbarian, a newly filmed interview with assistant editor Peck Pryor. Crafting Conan's Magic, a newly filmed interview with visual effects crew members Peter Curran and Catherine Keene. Barbarians and Northmen, a newly filmed interview with filmmaker Robert Eggers on the film's influences on the Northman. Behind the Barbarian, a newly filmed interview with John Walsh, author of Conan the Barbarian, the official history of the film. A Line in the Sand, a newly filmed interview with Alfio Leota, author of The Cinema of John Milius. Conan the Rise of Fantasy Legend, an archive featurette on the film's literary and comic book roots. Art of Steel, Sword Makers and Masters, an archive interview with Swordmaster Kiyoshi Yamasaki. Conan from the Vault, an archive compilation of on-set cast and crew interviews. A tribute to Basil Polidorus, a series of videos produced by the Ubeda Film Music Festival, including video of Polidorus conducting a concert of music from the film in 2006, which is remixed in 5.1 surround, and interviews with collaborators such as Paul Verhoeven and Randall Kleiser. Rarely Seen Electronic Press Kit from 1982, featuring over half an hour of on-set footage and cast and crew interviews from a watermarked tape source. Outtakes, including a deleted cameo by Milius. Split-screen Valeria Battle Spirits visual effects comparison. Conan the Archives, a gallery of photos and production images from 2000. Conan the Barbarian, the musical, an affectionate comic tribute to the film by John and Al Kaplan. Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. U.S. and international teaser and theatrical trailers, as well as an image gallery. And again, this is a limited edition. So it'll be in that deluxe case with a double-sided poster, 6 double-sided collector's postcards, as well as one of their collector's booklets, aka books, because they're usually so thick. Man, this thing is just jam-packed, and I'm super excited about this. I absolutely love this film. But it does not end there. We also are now getting a 4K release of also Conan the Destroyer. And again, this will also be a separate 4K release as well as a separate Blu-ray release, so do make sure you choose whichever one you're looking to get. And again, same thing, retail for $59.95, up for pre-order for $45 currently. Also set for January 16th. And let's just dive right in. Brand new 4K restoration from the original camera negative by Arrow Films. Presented in Dolby Vision, also with restored mono, and also with a Dolby Atmos remix. An archive feature commentary by director Richard Fleischer. Archive feature commentary by actors Olivia Diabo and Tracy Walter. Archive feature commentary by actors Sarah Douglas and genre historians Kim Newman and Stephen Jones. Brand new feature commentary by genre historian Paul M. Salmon, author of Conan the Phenomenon. A newly assembled isolated score track in lossless stereo. Casting the Destroyer, a newly filmed interview with casting director Joanna Ray. Cut from a Different Cloth, a newly filmed interview with costume designer John Bloomfield. Dune and the Destroyer, a newly filmed interview with art director Kevin Phipps. Sword, Sorcery, and Stunts, a newly filmed interview with stunt coordinator Vic Armstrong. Behind the Destroyer, a newly filmed interview with John Walsh, author of Conan the Barbarian, the official history of the film. Conan, the Making of a Comic Book Legend, an archive interview with writers Roy Thomas and Gary Conway. Basil Polidorus, composing the Conan saga, an archive interview with the composer. Theatrical trailers and an image gallery, and again, also in a deluxe set with a double-sided poster, the postcards, and also a booklet as well. And then finally, which is interesting that they're doing this, there's actually going to be a sort of bundle pack that'll actually include both films in it. And again, it'll be a separate 4K release or a Blu-ray release. So as you can see here, it's the Conan Chronicles, Conan the Barbarian, and Conan the Destroyer limited edition. Retails for $89.95, currently up for pre-order, at least from Arrow, for $60, also set for January 16th. Now, the only difference between this one and getting them separately, it looks like it actually has everything in it. It's just obviously in one complete package. But, I mean, you get the posters, you get all the postcards for both films, you get all the discs, obviously. You get an outer box. It's just really kind of just depends on whether or not you want, just one of the films or if you want them together. It actually is kind of nice because it actually is cheaper if you want both films to get this set. Although I'm not going to lie, I actually decided to go for them separately just because I love these films so much. I actually want them on my shelf in two separate things, even though I love both films. I kind of debated back and forth because I think, dishing out maybe an extra like $20 just to get them separately, but I was like, I love the way they look, with the original poster on them. But honestly, there's nothing wrong with getting this bundle, especially if you are saving money. And again, with both films, there's obviously several options. 4K set, Blu-ray set for each. So definitely a lot of options here if you plan to get them. I can't wait. I've been wanting Conan in 4K for so long. So for me, this was a fantastic announcement. And that's it for the Arrow titles for January. So we should be getting a couple more from Scream Factory probably in a couple weeks. Should find out what their January stuff. So we're starting to see what these companies are starting to have planned in the new year. And at least for me, this is actually pretty exciting one to kind of kick off the year with. And I will be responding to comments. I apologize about last week. Last week was just a very hectic week for me. But if you have any questions, definitely let me know. I'll try and answer them as best I can. Let me know your thoughts on these announcements. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.